Hey, yes, I was thinking of doing a talk on dialectics. Not really very prepped up at all, but yeah, it's a good little discussion area, so give it a run. Here we are. So, yes, there was dialectics. So, back in the day, we had Socrates, is probably a good place to start, the great dialoguer, the same root, dialectic dialogue. So there's two things. You have this back and forth, and you have a tendency towards coming towards some sort of mutual understanding between these two things. So the classic dialogue where one person has one idea, the other, and you go back and forth and you come to a common agreement. So you can also look at it in terms of, well, there was Plato after Socrates, and don't know much about him really, but then there was Aristotle, and Aristotle had the golden mean, which is ethics. So you're looking at two extremes, where if you go too far either way, you run into trouble. Whereas if you're balanced between those extremes, then you come toward an ideal. So you might, for example, be too strong, too soft, trying to deal with, say, you're trying to deal with a recalcitrant child, and you're too assertive, and then you're not assertive enough, and then after a time you hopefully begin to learn how to walk on the middle path where you can be both strong and gentle and provide direction for the kid in that way, and that will be sort of an ideal, a golden mean in the middle. You could be too brave and rush out in front of all your comrades at the battle and you get killed, or you could be too cowardly and you stay back while all of your friends run out there and then all of your friends get killed. So you've got to be, if in the middle there, then yeah. So then sometime later we had Hegel. Hegel was from Germany. He came up with a big, complex idea that I don't really think anybody understands, but he looked at the progress of history and the progress of human thought and the development of human consciousness and spirituality and the structure of consciousness, including up to the Godhead, all in terms of this dialectic framework, whereby you have this progress involved in this swinging back and forth. So there's the classic, the antithesis, the thesis, and the synthesis. So you get the thesis, the thing that is, the antithesis, the thing that opposes it, and then over time you have the synthesis of these two. For example, again, like we had one before, you might have another one whereby you're in this yeah, so you might have the well, we gave that example before, but let's look into the society now as well, where there's you have this progress of, so Marx was heavily influenced by Hegel, and he came up with his theory of the progress of history, dialectic materialism. He called it dialectic materialism. So then you have this. There's the bourgeoisie and the proletariat, and you have this back and forth. The opening line to the Communist Manifesto, the history of all hitherto existing society is the history of class struggle. So he's talking about the dialectical process there between the haves and have-nots. Yes, but I think perhaps a bit weak on his part. He's talking, I think, the clear framework to understand that concept wherein you have the battle between capitalism and communism is whereby you have collectivist on one side and individualist on the other side. And so you have two individualistic, two collectivistic, and then over time you strike the appropriate balance. But you can see that within the society, within politics, if you have the society becoming too contrived in terms of people's lives, people have to run their lives in terms of how the society wants them to live it. It becomes too collectivistic. There's not enough options for individuals to pursue their private interests. It becomes too collectivistic. Then people representing those private interests will rise up as a political force and subsequently drive the society back towards individualism. And then if it becomes too individualistic, then people that support collectivistic and the cohesiveness of the community and cooperating together and mutual support amongst communities and all those positives from from the collectivistic aspect, they will rise up as a political force. So you get this swinging back and forth between collectivism and individualism. So in terms of Marx, I think Marx is clearly a collectivist theorist, and subsequently his concept that the collectivist ideal will rise up above the individualistic ideal is flawed, and that the ideal lies in the middle between collectivism and individualism. But yeah, you had that huge history of dialectical theory. It's not popular in uni, but I think it clearly represents a fundamental truth. The world progresses in dialectic forms. So, yeah, but we also see it from the East, of course. With Buddha, the middle way, you got Taoist theorists. You have Confucius and Lao Tzu and those other Taoists who look at the world in terms of a polar framework. Too far this way, too far that way, no good, balance, good, balance, good. So, and in terms of religion as well, you can there was Abraham, and there was the Yetzirah, I presume they were all the R's. The Yetzirah, that means the creation, and Abraham has paralleled the structure of the cosmology of the universe with the structure of the Hebrew alphabet. So he's looked at three planes, three polarities. So front, back, left, right, up, down. So you got the space defined in terms of this three poles, and you've also got structure of kind of existence. You got heaven, earth. You've got separate, connected, and you've got yin yang. So yeah, and the tongue of balance in the middle between, you got yin, you got yang, masculine, feminine, and you've got the balance, the neutral ground between the two extremes. So you had this huge history of understanding the world in terms of dialectics and understanding ideals in terms of balance within a polar framework, both from the East and the West. The whole mosaic dream, the whole mosaic, the geometry of the temple and the ark designed by Moses is all built inside of that geometric framework contained in the Yetzirah, which I think clearly comes from Abraham, although that is to some extent disputed, but yes, it's a sublime little book that takes probably 20 minutes to read, and was written down sometime after the death of Jesus, I believe, when there was movement of the Jews, exile. The Romans destroyed the temple in 70 AD, or 70 after AD, approximately, and the Jews exiled, and so the Yetzirah was written down at that stage to preserve that knowledge in written form. So, yes, that's probably enough. It's religion. we're separate, we're connected, we're strong, we're gentle, we're cooperative, we're competitive, we're individual and community, and both is good, but both is good when they're mutually supportive of one another. But if we go too far in either direction, then negatives result, and you get this negative dialectical swinging between negative states on either end of the spectrum. Whereas when we have balance, heaven, you got heaven, earth. When we have balance, heaven descends to earth through you. You got the heart in the middle, and yes, so you get this swimming forward within the polar frame. Dialectics are called. That's it.